A major meeting between two of the most powerful leaders on Earth has just been delayed. And this is not just any meeting. This is a high-stakes summit between the United States and China. A moment that could shape the future of the global economy, politics, and even peace itself. But now, everything has changed. The White House has confirmed that former U.S. President Donald Trump's planned visit to Beijing has been pushed back. Originally scheduled for the end of March into early April, the trip is now expected to happen later, possibly in May. And while this might look like a simple scheduling change, the real story runs much deeper. Because right now, a war in the Middle East, specifically involving Iran, is shaking the global stage. And its effects are reaching far beyond that region. All the way into Washington, Beijing, and the upcoming U.S. elections. China is paying very close attention. Beijing has not officially commented on the delay. But behind closed doors, analysts believe Chinese leaders are carefully studying every move coming out of the United States. They are trying to understand one key question. How will this war affect America's politics? And how can China use that to its advantage? You see, timing is everything in global politics. With U.S. midterm elections approaching in November, pressure is building on Trump. Leaders facing elections often want quick wins, especially economic victories that make voters happy. And China knows this. If Trump feels the pressure to deliver good economic news, he might be more willing to make deals. That could give China an important advantage when negotiations begin. But there's a problem. Donald Trump is known for being unpredictable. One moment he may push for peace and trade deals. The next, he may take bold and risky actions, like engaging in conflict abroad. His recent involvement in the Iran situation shows that he is willing to take big risks, even if they come with economic consequences. This makes it harder for China to plan its strategy. Still, the delayed meeting might actually benefit Beijing. Reports suggest Chinese officials were not fully comfortable with how the summit was being organized. China prefers highly controlled, well-planned diplomatic events. The delay gives them more time to prepare, and possibly gain a stronger position. Meanwhile, the war with Iran is creating another major issue: rising oil prices. As conflict continues, global energy costs are increasing. And when oil prices go up, everything becomes more expensive, from transport to food. This leads to inflation, something American voters strongly dislike. Recent polls already show that many Americans are unhappy with the strikes on Iran. Even some supporters of Trump are beginning to question the decisions being made. This puts Trump in a difficult position. He must balance international conflict, economic stability, and political popularity, all at the same time. And again, China is watching. Experts believe Beijing sees an opportunity here. If inflation rises and voters become frustrated, Trump may feel even more pressure to secure a deal with China. A successful trade agreement could help him present a strong economic message to voters ahead of the elections. But the situation is not so simple. China also has its own challenges. Its economy is still heavily dependent on exports. In fact, Chinese exports recently grew by over 20% in just the first 2 months of the year. That means China needs stable global trade relationships, especially with the United States. At the same time, economists warn that the effects of the U.S. China trade tensions could soon become more serious. Rising tariffs, inflation, and even job losses could hit both countries if no agreement is reached. So both sides have something to lose, but also something to gain. And here is where things get even more strategic. China has used a powerful tactic before, and it may use it again. When trade tensions began last year, China reduced its purchases of American soybeans. This might sound like a small detail, but it had a big political impact. Soybeans are grown in key U.S. states where political support is very important. When farmers suffered losses, it affected local economies and ultimately influenced voting patterns. This is not new. Back in 2018, during another trade conflict, similar actions by China contributed to political losses for the Republican Party. Some studies even suggest that trade retaliation cost them multiple seats in Congress. Now, history could repeat itself. With only a small margin separating political power in Washington, even a few lost seats could change everything. But here is the twist. A weaker Trump may not actually be good for China. Some experts believe that if Trump loses power, more aggressive voices within U.S. politics could rise. These are leaders who take a much harder stance against China. Interestingly, despite tough talk, Trump has sometimes taken softer actions, like allowing certain technology exports to China and delaying military support to Taiwan. These decisions have quietly benefited Beijing. So from China's perspective, keeping Trump strong might actually be the better option. Yes, you heard that right. In global politics, things are not always what they seem. China may apply pressure, but not too much. Just enough to influence negotiations, without weakening Trump completely. Because if he falls, something more unpredictable could take his place. At the same time, Chinese analysts are not entirely optimistic about Trump's political future. Some believe his performance so far has not been strong enough to guarantee success in the upcoming elections. And that creates uncertainty. So now the world waits. A delayed meeting, a rising war, growing economic pressure, and an approaching election. All these pieces are moving at the same time like a giant chess game between global superpowers. The question is, who will make the next move? Will Trump secure a deal with China and strengthen his position? Will rising inflation and war costs turn voters against him? Or will China find the perfect moment to apply pressure and shift the balance of power? One thing is certain. This is no longer just about one meeting or one country. This is about the future of global leadership, economic stability, and political control. And as the tension builds, the entire world is watching closely. 'Cause what happens next could change everything.